They sent her to certain death. What a middle-aged South Asian woman brought back shocked everyone.
The briefing lasted 11 minutes. Captain Roland Hess set a single photograph on the table, slid it across, and said the target city in a flat voice, like he was reading a grocery list. He did not explain why this mission had burned through 3 previous operatives in 5 months. He did not mention that 2 of those 3 had not come back. The woman looked at the photograph for 4 seconds. Then she slid it back. Her name was Vera. She was 31, Romanian-born, British-trained, and had spent 2 years working for the Special Operations Executive, Britain's wartime intelligence organization, the one Churchill had ordered to set Europe ablaze. She spoke 5 languages without an accent in any of them. And she had a face people forgot within minutes of seeing it, which in her profession was worth more than almost anything else. Hess gave her the objective. A courier network inside occupied Lyon had been compromised. Someone was feeding names to the Gestapo. 4 resistance members arrested in 3 weeks. 2 already dead. The leak had to be found before the entire network collapsed. It took dozens of other cells with it. 3 operatives had already tried. None had gotten close. Vera was the 4th attempt. She asked one question. What cover did the others use? He told her. A textile merchant, a teacher, a Red Cross worker. She said she needed something different, something that placed her closer to decision makers, not message carriers. She asked for 3 days to build the cover herself. Hess gave her 2. She spent those 2 days in a records room reading things nobody had flagged, intercepted messages, low-level reports, anything connected to Lyon in the last 4 months. Not the highlighted intelligence, the details around the edges, the things filed and forgotten. On the second evening, she found something small. She folded a single note and put it in her coat pocket. The next morning, a car took her to an airfield outside. London, Rain. A Lysander aircraft, small. Single engine, used for clandestine drops into occupied France. The pilot didn't speak. She didn't either. She climbed in and watched England disappear beneath the clouds. She was going to Lyon, into a penetrated network, into a city full of Gestapo. After 3 trained operatives had already failed. She went because she had found something small in a forgotten file and believed it mattered. She was about to find out if she was right. Lyon in the winter of 1943 looked like a city living its ordinary life. Trams running, shops open, people moving through streets not yet bombed into rubble. But underneath that surface was a constant hum of fear nobody spoke about openly. Checkpoints appeared without warning. Men were pulled off trams for document checks that sometimes ended at the station and sometimes ended somewhere else entirely. Vera arrived by train, using papers identifying her as Marguerite Colbert, a bookkeeper from Geneva visiting a cousin. Simple cover. Simple holds better than elaborate under casual scrutiny. She passed the checkpoint at the station without being stopped, took a room in a small hotel, paid 2 weeks in cash, and spent the first 24 hours doing almost nothing. She walked. She sat in cafes. She learned which streets were watched, which checkpoints were active at which hours, where people gathered and where they avoided. She was building a presence, the sense that she had existed in this city before she arrived. On the second day, she made her first contact. The detail she had found in London was a name, not a resistance operative, not a Gestapo officer, a woman who ran a dressmaking shop on the Rue Mercier, mentioned twice in intercepted messages as someone who provided safe meeting space. Never identified as an operative, never placed on any list. Just a name that appeared in the background of 2 reports filed 3 months apart that nobody had. Connected. Vera walked into the shop at 10 in the morning and asked about a dress. The woman behind the counter had careful eyes and the stillness of someone who had spent years deciding exactly how much of herself to show. Vera spoke French, asked about fabric, and folded 4 specific words into a sentence about cloth Anne, so recognition signal, placed so that someone listening, for it would hear it and someone not listening, would hear a woman talking about material. The woman's hands went completely still for half a second. Then she asked Vera to come to the back in the back room. With the door closed, she said 3 sentences. The network was meeting in 2 days. She knew where. And she had suspected for 2 weeks that someone inside that meeting was not what they appeared to be, but had told no one because she had no proof and no way of knowing who else to trust. Vera listened to all 3 sentences. Then she asked the one question she had come to Lyon to ask. She asked the woman what she had seen. The meeting was in a wine merchant's cellar. 12 people, 1 lamp, cold stone walls, and the smell of cork. Vera sat at the far end, introduced as a courier from a Geneva contact. She did not speak much. The people who talk in rooms like this are the ones who want to appear credible. She already had her credibility from the introduction. What she needed now was to watch. The dressmaker had told her this 2 weeks earlier. A senior courier named Gaspard had been stopped at a checkpoint and held for 4 hours before being released without charge. Alone, that meant nothing. But 3 days later, the dressmaker had watched from her window as Gaspard stopped in front of a specific tobacconist across the street, a building known among careful people in the neighborhood as a place where certain information moved in certain directions. He had stood at the window display for almost a full minute. He had never done that before in the cellar. Vera watched Gaspard. He was perhaps 45, confident, comfortable in this room, which made sense given his role. He asked precise questions about routes and timing. He showed nothing that any single person present would have flagged as suspicious. But Vera wasn't watching for what he showed. She was watching for what he didn't. 3 times during the meeting, when specific names were spoken, locations of safe houses in other cities, Gaspard's pen moved. Not writing notes? A small mark, barely visible at the edge of the paper in front of him. 3 names. 3 marks. Each one made at the exact moment the name was spoken, then covered smoothly by his hand. Vera saw it, without looking at it directly. 2 years of training had made that possible. She left the meeting 7th. She did not follow Gaspard. Following would have been noticed. She walked back to her hotel by a route 40 minutes longer than necessary, stopping twice to confirm no one was behind her. In her room, she sat at the desk and wrote nothing down. Writing things in Lyon got people killed. She organized everything in the structure of her memory, sequences, images, attached to specific moments, so nothing would blur under pressure. She had what she came for. But taking it back to London was the safe move. The expected move, safe and expected, had already failed 3 times. If she left now, Gaspard would eventually sense something had shifted. More people would be arrested before London could act. There was one option not in her briefing. One thing she had not been authorized to do, she decided to do it anyway. She went to find the network's leader. His name was Michel, not his real name. Nobody used real names, and he had been running resistance operations in Lyon for 14 months, which meant either exceptional skill or exceptional luck. People who knew him believed it was mostly the first. Getting to him was not simple. Network leaders didn't have addresses. They moved on schedules that changed constantly. They didn't meet strangers, especially not strangers who had arrived 3 days ago with a cover. Nobody had fully verified. But the dressmaker had a way. Vera sent a message through her, 3 sentences, passed verbally through to intermediaries. She had identified the source of the leak. She needed 1 hour with Michel before she left. The information could not travel through the network's own channels. That last part got her the meeting. Because if the network was already compromised, anything passed through its internal routes was potentially intercepted. The only safe way to communicate something about the leak was completely outside it. Michel understood this immediately, which told Vera he had already been thinking about the same problem. They met above a restaurant that stayed open late. Michel arrived first. Vera was shown up and left alone with him. She talked for 14 minutes. She laid out everything. The checkpoint, the tobacconist window, the 3 marks on the paper, the pattern of arrests that aligned precisely with what Gaspard would have known in his role. She presented it without pushing toward a conclusion, letting the pattern speak for itself. Michel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You have no proof," he said. "No," she said. "If you're wrong, and this man is accused, the damage is severe." "Yes, if you're right, and I do nothing, more people die." She didn't answer. It wasn't a question. He stood at the window with his back to her for a full minute. Then he turned and said he needed 48 hours. He told her what he planned to do, and why he needed her present, because one piece of the plan required information she carried in her memory that couldn't be passed through any other channel. Safely, she agreed to stay. Those 48 hours were the most dangerous of the whole operation. Every extra hour in Lyon was an hour for something to go wrong. She stayed in her room. Reed slept when she could. On the second evening, a message arrived through the dressmaker. 2 words. She read them. She burned the note in the ashtray, pressed the ash flat with her thumb until no letter shape remained. Then she packed her bag, paid her bill in cash, and walked to the train station without looking back. She arrived in London on a Thursday morning. 41 days after she left, a junior officer drove her to the Baker Street building where the SO kept its debriefing rooms. Hess arrived 40 minutes later. The debrief lasted 3 hours. What Vera brought back was not a single dramatic name. It was something more valuable, a complete picture of how the leak had worked. Not just who, but the method, the timeline, the chain of communication between Gaspard and his Gestapo contact, the checkpoint encounter that had started it, and the specific weakness in the network's courier rotation that had made everything possible. 3 previous operatives had gone into Lyon looking for a name. They had been solving the wrong problem. A name, even confirmed, would remove one person, and the structure would simply produce another. Vera had brought back the structure itself. When the debrief ended, Hess read through his notes and said, "The Lyon network is still operating." "Yes," she said, "for cells that would have been taken down in 30 days are intact." That was the point. He looked at her for a moment differently than he had at the start of the briefing 6 weeks earlier. Something in his assessment had shifted. He closed his notebook and told her she had 72 hours before the next briefing. She went home to her flat in Kensington, slept 14 hours, woke up and made coffee and sat by the window and thought, for the first time since Lyon, about Gaspard. About a pen moving at the edge of a paper. About 2 words burning in an ashtray. She had not asked Michel what he intended to do. She had given him the information and left the decision where it belonged, with the people whose lives depended on it. But she knew what those 2 words meant. Everyone in that world knew. In the weeks that followed, Michel restructured the network using a cell separation model Vera had outlined during her 48 hours in the city. No single courier could hold enough information to compromise more than one branch at a time. 2 other SOE networks in southern France later adopted the same approach. The arrests stopped. The network held in the official SO records declassified decades later. The Lyon operation appears as a single paragraph. An operative identified a security breach and provided information enabling structural reforms that protected continued operations. She is identified by field name only. No details of the cellar meeting. No details of what she did without permission. No details of 2 words burning to ash. In a hotel room, just the results. When historians later pieced the story together, from fragments across 3 national archives, one of them wrote that what made Vera different was not what she found in Lyon. It was what she understood before she ever got on the plane. 3 people had failed because they were answering the wrong question. She had gone to Lyon to answer a different one. She came back with the right one.